If you haven't heard this story, you're making a big mistake. A late-night lift ride takes a terrifying turn when the driver realizes his passenger isn't just strange, he's dangerous. And the worst part? He knows it too. Stay till the end, because what happens next will haunt you. It was around 2 a.m. Quiet streets, my old Volvo humming along. I had been driving for Lyft for a few years, and night shifts were my thing. But this ride, this one still gives me chills. I got a request from a convenience store nearby. As I pulled up, I felt something was wrong. The store was closed, parking lot empty. Then I saw him, a guy in a ragged hoodie, pacing, jerking his head like he was looking for someone, or hiding from someone. I hesitated, my finger hovering over cancel. But I didn't. I unlocked the door. Big mistake. He slid in silently, staring at me through the rearview mirror. No phone, no window gazing, just staring. To break the tension, I turned on the radio. "Turn it off," he snapped, his voice rough. I gripped the wheel tighter. Then he asked, "Ever pick up someone you shouldn't have?" My stomach dropped. I laughed nervously. I hope not. He wasn't laughing. He leaned back, muttering to himself. Then he started rambling about how he used to drive for Uber, but quit after some punks stole from his car. The whole time, he was smiling. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. "It's funny how much trust you put in someone sitting behind you." My hands shook. The GPS showed we were close, but he suddenly yelled, "You missed the turn." I hadn't, but I braked anyway, fear taking over. "Pull over?" I did. My pulse pounded. Then headlights, a cop car. As it passed, its spotlight swept over us. My passenger slumped down, lying flat across the seat, hiding. I held my breath. The police car kept moving. Then he sat up, whispered, "You got lucky," and vanished into the night. A few weeks later, I saw a news article, a convenience store robbery, same night. 2 blocks from where I picked him up. I'd been driving a criminal, maybe worse, and I had no idea how close I came to being his next victim. What would you have done in my place? Would you have cancelled the ride? Let me know in the comments. And if you think this was terrifying, you haven't heard my next story, stay tuned. What would you do if your reflection didn't move like you did? If it stared back, smiling, when you weren't? Stick around, because this isn't just a story about a mirror. It's about what was trapped inside it. I grew up in an old house, the kind that droned at night, with long hallways and an attic full of forgotten things. My parents collected antiques, so our home was filled with relics from the past. Some were beautiful, others felt wrong, but nothing unsettled me more than the mirror in the attic. It was massive, framed in dark wood, carved with strange figures. Some looked like angels, others like twisted faces. My mom said it was valuable, but to me, it felt off. The glass was always cloudy, no matter how much it was cleaned. And the reflection, it never felt right. When I was 12, I started hearing whispers near the attic door at night. Faint, almost like the wind. But sometimes, they said my name. One night, Curiosity won. I crept upstairs with a flashlight, heart pounding. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection. Then, I saw it. It blinked, but a second too late. It tilted its head when I didn't. My breath caught in my throat, and then it smiled. I ran, tripping down the stairs, my knees scraping against the wood. The next day, I told my parents. They laughed. Just your imagination. I avoided the attic after that. But years later, when I was 17, my parents decided to sell the house. My dad asked me to help move the mirror. I refused. So he called a mover instead. As the man tilted the mirror, something impossible happened. The reflection stayed upright. It didn't move with the glass. The mover screamed, dropping it. The mirror shattered, and in the largest shard, I saw myself. But it wasn't me. It was still smiling. Ever felt like something was watching you from the mirror? Maybe it's time to look a little closer. Tell me what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because the next story, it's even worse. What if your childhood toy wasn't just a toy? What if, late at night, it whispered your name and moved when no one was watching? Stay till the end, because some things should never be kept in your home. When I was 6, my grandmother gave me a porcelain doll. It wore an old-fashioned gown. Its glassy blue eyes too real. I never liked dolls, but I kept it on my shelf. The first time I heard the whisper, I thought I imagined it. A faint, hushed voice in the dark. I sat up, scanning my room. The doll sat motionless. Every night, just as I drifted off, I'd hear it again. Sometimes a murmur. Sometimes my name. One night I woke to a soft thud. My heart pounded. The doll, once on the shelf, was now face down on the floor. I placed it in my closet, wedged a chair against the door. But at 2 a.m., soft scratching woke me. The door creaked open. The chair hadn't moved, but the doll sat just inside the doorway. I screamed. The next day, my mother donated it. Years later, I visited my grandmother's house. Passing the guest room, I froze. The doll was back. And this time, it smiled. Some things should never be kept in your home. What do you think? Would you have kept the doll? Let me know in the comments.